Hey everybody, it's the Nitty Professor. I'm here with my son to talk to him about his heritage boot journey. Take it away, Culver. What have we here?
Like a lot of people, it started with Red Wings. These weren't the first ones. This is specifically, what is this one? I forget. 1905?
Is this the classic mock?
1900, yes it is.
With the Norwegian welt?
But unlike the 875, this was built on a shorter, slightly wider sole, or last. I mean. Yeah. And something appealed to me about them when I purchased them. But the point being, I didn't start with these boots. I started with the Iron Rangers in the copper rough and tough leather, the exact same leather. But I wanted to experience a wedge sole and a mock toe construction, which is how I got with these. The break-in was horrendous. It was awful to go through, to be quite honest.
And so when I get this kind of boot, I just excise that collar because I find that it interferes with the break-in significantly. Because I have the Alpine mocks and I took that off and it was way easier to break in.
Which I can respect and understand. For me, it wasn't as much of an issue. The thing that was hard for me was the heel.
Oh, really?
The heel cup, this whole construction was the most uncomfortable to break in. That was tough. And the toe box, because it's so rigid to begin with that construction. It was difficult to get it to be able to flex like this every time that came. But for a while, I was working in a furniture store wearing these maybe once a week or so and switching them out with some other boots, so they got a lot of wear on the soles, and they still have some life in them, which is good.
Would you ever consider getting them resold?
If I wore them that much, my current job doesn't make these shoes the most practical. So I don't wear these more than once every few months
right
at
now.
This point. But they're still really great, and I consider them one of my more comfortable pairs. I mean, you can see how much this whole toe box is just collapsed.
It's conformed.
Yeah, it does what I want it to now. One complaint I've got is that my feet are on the narrow side for this last, which means that when I lace them up, you can see there's almost no room in there anymore between the quarters. The tongue is almost completely hidden.
Do you wear pretty thick socks?
I tend to. I prefer the darn tough socks for boots.
Because you don't knit your own?
No, that's not something
That's what I
do.
recommend.
But
I need to make some for you.
They work well. Another issue with these boots I had for a while was my foot wanted to slide forward just enough for my toes to actually hit the end of the toe box. And for a long time, I thought I should have gotten a half size bigger. But then once I finally felt like they were more broken in after a few months, that stopped happening as much. And they stayed more secure. My foot didn't move around as much, and my heel felt like it wasn't dying every time I was wearing them. So these took a lot of doing, but they got there eventually.
How do you feel about the sole?
I like it. As you can see, this is a funny memento with this one, is that there's this gash in it right there. And I think that's because I was walking along some concrete and I stepped on a piece of glass. And the glass didn't, sit parallel to the boot. It stabbed into it. And I was fine. The sole took care of that. And
that's what they're for.
It's got its scar. So I really do like them. It was my first experience with a wedge sole. And I think I came out on the other side of that enjoying them. They're a little bit softer and more compliant than a lug sole. And later on, I went on to wear Nick's Builder Pros. Not the Builder Pro, the Overlander, a similar model, but,
with the
heavy lug soles, yeah. So
and those have the fireproof.
I did. I did not specifically opt for that, I don't think, when I got the boots. That was kind of a surprise that they got the Red X lug sole. And to my understanding, those are a little bit harder than the basic V100 sole.
Okay, less give.
Right. So, even further from how soft these soles are. But
so where did you buy these?
Where did I buy these?
Didn't we buy these in Spokane?
Yeah.
At the Red Wing store?
Yeah.
Because I remember it seemed to me like they didn't have the exact model that you were after. And then we tried these on and you thought about it.
I think I really wanted
it was a German woman.
I really wanted the 877s, the 8-inch mock toes on the 23 last. This is on, I think, the 45 last. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a slight difference between those two lasts, and they just didn't have availability for the 877s. It took me a while to get a pair of those finally, and then what do you know, those weren't quite the right size and I can't wear them anymore. But I got these instead, kind of at your suggestion, because I was a little distraught not walking away with a pair of boots, so I ended up with these.
How many times have you conditioned them?
A few. For a while I was conditioning them with neat's foot oil, oil blend, but I felt like it wasn't really penetrating. Like it just sort of stayed on top, and then a week later they seemed kind of dry again. I didn't understand why it wasn't really working for me.
Can I guess what conditioner's on these?
You could.
Obenelf.
No, it's close. That's probably one of my favorite conditioners, but I used a mink oil.
Oh, okay.
Which is why a lot of the sort of luster of Copper Rough and Tough is gone on these now.
Like I can see on the tongue how it's more the original color right there, but it's really dark also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which partly is dirt probably, but also mink oil.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of wear, and they're still great. I can still wear them. They're still comfortable.
Were they like 4 years old?
Yeah, I think so.
So what's next? What was there were a lot of stations on your journey.
It was
after
a few
samples.
It was on the same trip that we bought these Red Wings that I ordered my pair of Knicks, which then came like 6 months later. And like I mentioned, that was the thick Overlander work boot. But for a while, my mom was beating me to the Truman game. So I was like, I need to get a pair of Trumans finally. And I was trying forever and ever to like find the right one and get the right size.
I think I have 5 pairs now.
And this is what I ended up getting, which is the, what do they call this boot? I remember this is built on their number 20 last, which is what they build their mock toes on. But now since they've added another another dressier last, and I think, what's the other last? The 79 last? That's the more common one that
That's what I have.
Your purple ones are in?
Purple, green, black.
So I didn't want.
Very rough out.
I liked that this was on the different last with the bigger toe box, more room, you know.
Is this structured? It's structured?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. As you can see, they're a little dry.
On my horse rumps, they're not structured.
And this is in, I believe, what the hell is this? This is a Natural Chrome XL, I think, actually. And they have been mink oiled once or twice.
They're still pretty light though. I'm trying to remember, is this like cognac or whiskey or tobacco or what? I'm trying to remember what leather this is.
I think it's the Natural Chrome XL.
Okay, natural. So,
and these
not really dyed.
These are, even over time, even after being broken in, stiffer than other boots.
Do you think it's because the leather's thicker?
Probably. Different tanneries.
And these have more of a collar instead of that, like, just the stitched on goat skin edge. These have like it's like 3/4 of an inch tall.
And compared to the construction on the Red Wings on these wedge sole ones, I do like that. While this one has just the single backstay, not connected to this heel cup here, this one is a lot more like the Iron Ranger construction because it's got the backstay and the heel is a single slab of leather. I quite like that about these. These were tough to break in though because of the collar. That was one of the hardest parts alongside the toe box. And I liked that they had this kind of gum sole. I wasn't too sure what to think of this sort of like edge here, how you walk on these lugs but there's still more boot on the side. That kind of confused me for a while. But as you can see, they've gotten quite a lot of use. And they're
Even the stitches are a little worn through.
Yeah, they're starting to get worn through, but they're still pretty hard wearing, honestly. Like the sole doesn't wear down much at all. And I wore these quite a lot when I was at the furniture store. And back in those days, I was living in New York, and I walked a mile to work and a mile back home every day, 5 days a week. And sometimes it was with these boots, through snow and rain and whatever, and then I'd work in them and walk back home. And I really started kicking these around. I think it's on that boot in particular, on the heel, that I've got some pretty interesting gashes in it. Like I really kicked something hard and it left a cut, you know. But I was fine. It's a thick boot. I didn't suffer from that. And I did put Obenofs on the laces. I remember that, though I used mink oil on the boot.
I like Truman's laces.
They're great. And this was, like I said, this was after I got the Knicks. So I went from a couple different pairs of Red Wings. I wanted the Knicks. I wanted to try Truman, trying different things out, learning more about my foot along the way. I've got a 12B natural Brannock size, And I think my instep is a little bit low volume. That's why on these Red Wings, the laces are so close together.
Not so much on these.
Yeah, not as much, even though these are a D.
They're kind of a better fit in a way.
Right. The only shoe I ever got in not a D width was the Knicks, and those were actually in a C. So yeah.
Which ones were harder to break in, these or those Red Wing Maptos?
Those were more painful, the Red Wings.
Red Wings.
But they became right. They became more compliant, even though I think these have received similar wear. I think these just kind of stopped at a certain point because they're thicker and more substantial, and I think the sole itself is thicker and more substantial,
harder wearing,
and harder. Yeah, they're not as flexible. I'll put it that way, but they're still comfortable. They were great to get through a whole day on. They were protective. I could drop stuff on my foot, kick stuff, whatever. I was fine. It's nice to have a boot and feel like your foot's kind of invincible for some reason.
Yeah. It's empowering.
Mm-hmm. And I've even got some denim ink that came off on these
from your
boots
pants,
after
from your salvaged denim jeans.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is the Truman sole, right? This is not Vibram.
Right. That's their proprietary stuff.
Right. But it's a good option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I say, it's lasted a long time. Been through a lot. I've even got some kind of rock or something in this little lip right here. It's kind of coming up right there a little bit, and it's survived. It's fine. I think they're well made. Mm-hmm. And
So you might buy them again.
I would. I was interested in their regrind sole for a while. That has that like recycled combination of rubbers, but I guess that'll be for another day.
So what's next?
Well,
obviously you've had other boots.
I've had other boots.
Jim Green.
The Jim Green boots. A pair of Grant Stones in their kudu leather, which I think had a similarly robust, doesn't want to flex too much kind of feeling as those Trumans, mainly because of the lining in them, I think.
Yeah.
Another pair of Iron Rangers that fit me better. To be honest, I got a better size. In the ebony harness leather, I wore those a lot. And then the Knicks, but then one brand I was always looking at that I passed up on a lot was whites. And when I got...
Don't want to pass up on whites.
When I got these ones, I started a new job that I currently hold. I walk around a warehouse on carpet for some 10 or 12 miles every day, 5 days a week. But I also wear, just to stay cool and comfortable and have ease of motion, I wear, a t-shirt and like running shorts or some kind of shorts or something. And I wanted something, I'm a bit partial to the whole should you wear boots with shorts thing, which you obviously are not, which I
channel
respect.
that all the time. Like right now, I have my Wolverine 1,000 miles on with shorts with my Inlet socks.
That bothers my own sense of style a little bit more.
You don't want to look like your mom.
So I started looking up work Oxfords because I know Red Wing makes the Postman shoe that they've made for a long time, I think. That's been revived in different styles.
Oh, yeah.
But then from a collaboration between Whites and Division Road, I found these lace-to-toe Oxfords is what they call them. And these are what I've been wearing for 2, 3, maybe 4 days a week. At work, like I say, walking 10 or 12 miles a day in them for about 6 months now. And we did a video on these when I got them around Christmas time.
Now we have to do the post-break-in,
that's right,
wearing them out video.
Because at first I couldn't wear them for more than, a half hour. Had to take them off. They're just so damn substantial and thick. And they're just purposefully kind of overbuilt. They've got a lineman patch for aesthetic reasons, really. I mean, no lineman's going to go wear these, I don't think, and climb up a pole and scrape their foot up on stuff. They have an unstructured toe, though. It's actually a soft toe box. People look at me at work and they're like, do you have like steel-toed boots on or something? I'm like, no, that's just leather. And they've been comfortable. They get me through a full day of work. Sometimes I come in for overtime and I'm at work walking around from 6:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a long day in those shoes that I spend.
Yeah.
Without taking them off or anything, and I stay comfortable. And another
actually worn to the stitching.
Yeah, that's something I'm concerned about. And maybe you commenters can give me some advice on what you think about that.
Is it time for a resole?
That I'd be sad if it was time for a resole. It's been 6 months.
It's almost to the leather.
It's been 6 months. Like, have you ever resold a pair of boots after 6 months that cost $700? You know, and they're a fine pair of boots.
This one isn't quite, but it's close. Like if you look at where the midsole is
close
to the actual sole, on that one, you're just about there.
On this one, the sole has worn down so far on that part where I bend down quite a bit. I get on like the balls of my feet and come back up doing like a squat many times in the day. I've come down to like the rubber slip sole that lines this whole thing. That is starting to hit the ground and be worn away.
That's crazy.
So I don't know how much further I want to push them. But all that being said, the soles are very comfortable.
Yeah.
They really are. And they are softer in my opinion. These Vibram, I think it's the 2060 sole. They are softer than the ones on the Red Wings. So I like that about them, but obviously they've worn quicker.
Yeah.
I think I've put a lot more wear on those Red Wings, worn them in a lot different conditions on concrete and on hiking trails and stuff, and they haven't kind of worn down this much.
That's really crazy. How was the break-in for these? So you said at first you could only wear them a half hour at a time. Mm-hmm. What kinds of issues did you have? Did you have like heel slippage or?
The heel was part of it because it's thick, and you know it's not like you've got a collar that can hold your foot down and keep it in place, so it kind of slips out like a shoe, unfortunately, because that's kind of what it is. Is it a boot or a shoe? I still call them boots. But the other thing that was really difficult, besides the toe box and getting that to break in, because it's a thicker, the lace to toe construction adds some layers of leather down here that make it more difficult, not to mention a whole lineman patch as well, so flexing it was difficult.
And the kiltie, yeah.
But one of the more noticeable difficulties was the arch support, because that's another selling point of the boot, is that it has some noticeable arch support in there despite still being a wedge-soled boot. And you can actually see the slab from the medial side there. And as I read online, and I thought it was completely accurate, it feels like you're walking on a roll of quarters between your foot, like you've got just a roll of coins sitting in the middle of your foot, and it is uncomfortable at first. But once that breaks in, it becomes very supportive over the day, which I appreciate on my long hours on my feet.
For sure.
Yeah. And,
good thing you don't weigh any more than you do.
Yeah.
It'd be even harder on your feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
do you have to carry like heavy stuff, or is it mainly just sprinting around with?
Boxes up to like 25 pounds. That's probably as heavy as they get. So I'm not like lugging, it's not like when I was at the furniture store pulling couches off the shelves and stuff. And
weren't you carrying like 200-pound objects and stuff when you were there?
Yeah, that was bad. These have not been conditioned yet.
Oh, really?
I've worn them for about 6 months, and that's why they're just looking a little raw on the toe boxes. And some guy one day was passing by me at work with a heavy cart, and he just was going too fast, and he just bam, just slammed me right in the heel right here while I was just standing there next to the conveyor, and it didn't faze me one bit. He just slammed into my foot, and I was like, oh, I'm fine, because I got my nice boots on. So I was thankful that day. But they've taken a licking. They've obviously got cut up by something in the back here. There's a deeper scratch going on right there.
Is this a Chrome XL?
It is. This is a burgundy Chrome XL, which I think is properly called Color 8. I think they were sold as burgundy Chrome XL, though. They were not marketed as Color 8. But I know it's the same color because I've got that shot motorcycle jacket, the Perfecto jacket, in the same leather.
Are we going to do a video about that?
Sometime. That would be good.
We could go over to your place and do it.
Mm-hmm. That'd be fun.
So
great. On those days, maybe I'll put on the jacket on a cooler day and wear these shoes, and I'll be matching. I got the same leather from the same tannery.
Matchy.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a Norwegian? Well, because it almost looks like it's sort of like this is, what would you call that? 180 degree? I mean,
what would you say? It's not
because it doesn't go like there's more of a well around the toe than there is around the back. So I'm not sure what the technical term for that is.
Mm-hmm. Because it's obviously not properly a stitch down construction.
No.
I don't know. I forget what they called it. I haven't worried about it too much or thought about it really.
That's quite the midsole.
Yeah, it was kind of a beast to get the sole to
comply.
Yeah, but after bringing these to work with another pair of shoes on that I could switch out to, after about a month, I started to wear these for the full day. And ever since then, I've considered them comfortable enough to just keep on. And they've been great. I really enjoy them. I just wish the sole didn't wear away that quickly.
Yeah, that's surprising.
So maybe you all can say, would you have them resoled? I mean, would you keep wearing them when it's gone all the way down to some of the midsole layers? I mean, I feel like most people would say probably not. But another part of me just says, well, to hell with it. They're boots. Just destroy them. Just keep going. Who cares? And have them resoled when there's an issue, like a real one. But
because right now they're functional.
They're still functional, still comfortable. Maybe slightly a tiny bit more of a squeak on the ground if I'm on some smooth cement because I'm wearing away on this rubber and not on this softer sole material. But if I do have them resoled, I think I might see if there's a different sole option I could go for that's still a soft wedge sole, but maybe just a tad bit harder. Because I really like that they're so squishy, and I like that when I'm walking around on asphalt, I can't even hear my footsteps. I have silent footfalls with these, which is something of a novelty.
You can be stealthy.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, probably a different sole if I have them resoled. But.
So what's your next pair of boots going to be, do you think?
Well, now that I am in a position where I feel like I can take on the cost, I think I might treat myself to a pair of John Lofgren boots at some point. And you know, this is supposed to be about a boot journey. And I started with painting the basement floor to earn the money to buy the first.
We should put a Red Wing next to the whites.
Yeah, let's do that. That's the
before
progression.
and after.
I started with doing some chores around the house to be able to afford that first pair of Red Wings before I got this pair, and then I started scaling up. I got $500 nicks, $700 whites now. I figure why not just start exploring the more expensive brands and different kinds of boots. I think it'd be nice to get an engineer boot at some point. But I like the John Lofgren Donkey Puncher model. And of course, I wanted a lace-to-toe model for a long time, and those are also a lace-to-toe boot. So I guess I'm drifting toward some Japanese manufacturing.
I feel like I'm going backwards because I have a pair of these on the way to me now. Going back to the baby stages.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I thought I would try the whole factory reject buying experience to see.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have an unboxing here coming up in a few days. So.
Right.
Is there anything else you think our viewers should know or any other questions? Because there's a lot of knowledge out there. I got some subscribers who are really helpful with suggestions.
Well, I heard that a lot of you are interested in Red Wing specifically, which I think is fantastic because while I love these, honestly, they're very comfortable. I get a lot of great use out of them and protection. To get a hard-wearing boot, you don't need to spend $700, especially for one whose sole is wearing away quicker than you thought it would.
It's crazy.
Who you'll have to pay to have it repaired somehow. But
like if we compare the soles,
yeah, like
the 6 month to the 4 year.
That's been years. Yeah, how has that sole lasted so much longer?
They're both Vibram.
Yeah.
At least I heard that the Red Wing soles are made by Vibram, even though the traction tread pattern it's with the Red Wing logo is still a Vibram product. That's what I heard.
So maybe my moral is that you can spend $300 on a pair of boots and get years out of it, and have it resold a few times and continue to get years out of it. So don't go away thinking you need to.
John Lofgren.
You don't need to buy the John Lofgren boots right away, and then be worried about an engineer boot sizing because of their different fit. So, but that being said, I think you should enjoy the things you can afford.
Exactly. We work hard for our money.
Don't
want to let it just sit there doing nothing. All right. Well, that's it for today, but I'm going to try to talk him into doing a shot jacket video. So we'll see what comes of that. Okay. Y'all take care. Bye.